This is growth and development of the toddler. So, physical growth of the toddler. Height and weight increases steadily but in spurts, and it's slower than during infancy. So that means they don't just gain the same amount every single day. They'll have a spurt where they grow and then kind of plateau, and then a spurt and then kind of plateau. But in general, you can estimate adult height by doubling the height at age 2. So a 2-year-old is half their adult height. So if they're 30 inches at 2, they'll be 60 inches as an adult. The average weight gain is 3 to 5 pounds a year. Average height increase is 3 inches per year. The anterior fontanelle should be closed about or a little before 18 months. Head size is more proportional when they get to 3. So that big toddler head starts to go away, and by about 3 their proportions are a little more like a child. Organs continue to mature. Neurologically, the brain's about 90% of its adult size at age 2, but it wasn't as well myelinated. So that myelination is increasing, which allows for better coordination and balance. It also allows for sphincter control, so we can start potty training at this age. Respiratory system, alveoli are increasing, but they won't reach adult levels till about age 7. Trachea and airways are still small compared to the adult, which allows for easier blockage. A small amount of swelling, a small amount of mucus can be a bigger issue still. Tonsils and adenoids are large compared to the oral cavity. So again, airway obstruction is an issue. Cardiovascular, the heart rate's decreasing and the blood pressure's increasing. GI system, the stomach is increasing in size so they can handle a larger meal, but it's still recommended for toddlers that they have 3 meals and 2 snacks a day because they can't eat that much at any one given time. Their small intestine is growing in length. This allows for less frequent stooling. Stool color can be based on what they eat. You'll get parents calling scared that the stool looks like something, and if you ask, oh yeah, my child ate blue jello, or there'll be some reason for the odd color. Bowel control is typically achieved about the end of toddlerhood, so around age 3, or we'd like to see it by age 3. Genital urinary system, the bowel, the bladder, and the kidneys do not reach adult function until about 16 to 24 months. And the problem with that is that means they're not good at concentrating urine if they're getting dehydrated. So they're still at risk for dehydration. Bladder capacity increases, but the urethra still remains short, so they're still at risk for UTIs. Musculoskeletal system, bones are increasing in length. Muscles are increasing in mass. However, they still have very weak core muscles, so they get that sway back and that pot belly appearance. So our developmental theorists, Erickson calls this autonomy versus shame and doubt. And if you have a toddler, they say, me do. They want to put on their shoes. They want to put on their clothes, even though they put their shoes on the wrong feet and their shirts inside out and backwards, and but they still want to do it themselves. So the goal is to achieve autonomy and self-control. Piaget calls this sensory motor and pre-operational, and this is where they really have been able to differentiate themselves from other objects, that other people can do things whether I want them to or not, and objects can fall on my toes and hurt me. They've developed object permanence by now, so I know mom still exists even when I can't see her. And they're beginning to have symbolic thought, where they'll try and categorize things. They'll look at any fuzzy animal and say, kitty? And you say, no, cow. And then they look at the next fuzzy animal and say, cow? No, that one's a dog. So they're trying to do some categorizing and be able to think symbolically. Freud calls it the anal stage because the goal of this stage is that sphincter control. So he says pleasure comes through sphincters, learning to control, to hang on and let go of things. Moral spiritual development, this is called pre-conventional stage. Spiritually, they gain comfort from following the actions that their families do, but they have no idea what they mean. Morally, they're starting to develop a sense of right and wrong, but it's based on consequences. So if they're praised for it, it's right. If they're scolded for it, it's wrong. Motor skill development, during this stage, we want to see a child walking independently somewhere between 12 and 15 months. Fine motor skills between 12 and 15 months is to be able to feed themselves and to be able to point with a finger. 18 months, they should be able to climb stairs, but you may, holding on to them. So they'll need assistance, and pulling a toy. So they can walk pulling a toy behind them. Fine motor at 18 months. They can reach for something, grab it, and let go. Again, this is the grab and release intentionally. Up till now, they had it in their hands and it was just there. And when they went to reach for something else, they dropped it, but it wasn't an intentional grab and release, and now it is. They can flip pages in those cardboard-type books. They can remove their shoes and socks. If you give them little cubes, little blocks, they can stack 4 of them. At 24 months, they can run, they can kick a ball, they can stand on their toes, they can climb on furniture, and those of you with kids this age, you know that, right? Fine motor, they can build. Now the tower is 6 to 7 blocks. About now, right or left-handedness should be showing. Prior to this, it worries us because it means they're not using one side, and we're worried they may have some cerebral palsy or something that's making them not use that side. But by about 2 years old, now we start to actually see that handedness. They should be able to scribble, paint. They're starting to be able to turn knobs, which means they can get in and out of rooms. So this is a safety concern. And they can put shapes into holes. So this is those shape sorter toys. 36 months. Gross motor, they climb really well. This is a kid who's now climbing up on the top of the refrigerator, right? They can pedal a tricycle. They run really well. Going upstairs, instead of step together, they're alternating feet. Fine motor, they can undress themselves. If you give them a paper and a pen or crayon, they can copy a circle. If you draw one, they'll make one. It may not be a perfect circle, but the ends touch. It's not just like a U. They can build that tower now 9 to 10 blocks high. They hold a pencil with their fingers. It's no longer just, sticking out of their hand like this. They're now holding it with their fingers. Screw, unscrew, lids, nuts, bolts. So they love those, the toys that kind of look like screwdrivers and screws and things. And they can turn pages in a book that even have thinner pages. So sensory development of toddlers, they love to explore their environment. They use all their 5 senses. So they're touching it, listening to it, picking it up, feeling it, throwing it. What sound does it make? Does it crash and break? They put it in their mouth and taste it. Their visual acuity is improving. It's still not what it will be. It's not 2020. Hearing, though, is very good. Hearing should be at adult levels. Even though their language is not fully developed, they have preferences for smell. So some things they'll crinkle up their nose and shake their head and not like it, and then they'll like certain textures. So this is where now they have their blankie that's soft, or they won't wear certain clothes that are scratchy, things like that. So speech development. Receptive language is what you can understand. Expressive language is what you can say. And receptive language, understanding, develops much before expressive language. So we're rarely worried about those kids who aren't saying a lot as long as they can follow simple commands. So their receptive language is good. Kids who are growing up in a bilingual house especially have delayed expressive language, but their receptive language is right on track with everyone else. So reassure those parents. It's good for them to learn 2 languages. That's great. And as long as they're following commands in the 2 languages, we're not worried if their expressive language is a little bit delayed from other kids. Some of the things we are worried about, echolalia. This is a sign of cognitive delays and autism. This is where they'll take like a phrase from a movie or a book and just say it over and over again, and it's not conversational at all. It's not interactive. It's, just repeating a phrase. Telegraphic speech, this is what they often, when they're first starting, they do. They'll tell you a whole story in single words, or just in the important words. I can remember when my oldest son was little, he was telling people, Daddy, airplane, bye-bye, vroom, right? He was telling people that we had taken his dad to the airport and his dad went in a plane. So he used just the important words and made this whole story in single words. So that's telegraphic speech. Emotional and social development. So the focus is separation and individuation, right? Remember, an infant doesn't really realize they're different from the parent because they cry and they get what they want. And now, doggone it, that parent doesn't have to do what the child wants. So they're realizing that they're a separate person. They don't have control over the parent. But part of that, now they're realizing they do have feelings and ideas that are not necessarily what they're being told to do. They want that piece of candy that they've been told they can't have. They're learning to control their environment. They will, move that thing they don't like and pull in the thing they do like. So they're trying to control the people around them still, but they're realizing that that they can't necessarily always do that. And toddlers are extremely labile emotionally, right? They're playing with the toy 1 minute and laughing, and then they can't get it to do what they want it to do, and they scream and they cry and they throw it, and they just seem emotionally labile, and that is normal. They're also very egocentric, which means they're just focused on themselves. They cannot see from another's point of view. So trying to explain to them what someone else thinks, what someone else feels, they don't get it. They just can't. They're not emotionally developed to the point that they can understand that yet. So typical behaviors of the toddlers. This is the age where they often have a security item, and especially at the hospital. Let them have their favorite stuffed animal, blanket, pillow, pillowcase, whatever it is. This is the age they start becoming aware of gender differences, and they may, at the hospital, say, "Are you a boy? Are you a girl? I'm a girl." This is new to them and exciting, so go ahead and answer. They can get aggressive, right? Easily frustrated at this age. They are learning that they can't totally control their environments, and that's frustrating. Temperament does make a difference, though, as they're developing, and we need to take that into consideration. Some kids are more active, and we have got to get them to the playroom to run around. Some are slower to warm up, and we need to not go in that room and come in loud and excited. We need to give them time of just seeing us standing at the doorway first. They may show fears of the parents leaving, of strangers. They become more self-aware, but they don't have good understanding of body boundaries, and so that's why they have a shot they want a Band-Aid over, because they are not sure that their insides are not going to leak out of that. A child who has surgery, they really are very confused about what you've done to them. So often at this age, especially in the hospital, we may see separation anxiety reoccur. They're going to resist invasive procedures. Again, they are worried about what that's going to do to them. They don't really understand that it's just a shot.